The spaceship moved slowly through the dark space near Earth's solar system. It was a beautiful ship made of crystal that caught the light from distant stars. Inside the ship, Captain Hana stood by the large window, looking at the blue planet ahead. Her silver eyes were worried. Her people, the Velkrin, were peaceful travelers who explored the galaxy. They never hurt anyone. They had no weapons except simple tools for mining rocks in space. But today they were running away. Bad people called the Karvoth had attacked them. The Karvoth were space pirates who stole from others and killed anyone who got in their way. Hana's ship was damaged. There were holes in the hull and air was leaking out into space. Minho, the ship's engineer, ran onto the bridge. His skin glowed with soft blue light, but it was flickering. This meant he was scared. He said to Hana in a quick voice that the damage was very bad. They were losing air fast. The Karvoth had hit them hard with their weapons. The ship might not last much longer. Hana felt cold fear in her chest. She asked about the people on the ship. Were they safe? Minho's face showed pain. He told her that most areas of the ship were okay, but there was one big problem. The passenger room where they kept guests was losing life support. The machines that made air and kept the temperature safe were breaking down. Hana's hands shook. In that passenger room was a human child. Her name was Lily Chen. She was only 7 years old. 3 star systems ago, the Velkrin had found an old human research station floating dead in space. Everyone on that station had died in an accident. But in a special sleeping pod, they found Lily. She was the only one who lived. Her parents had died trying to save her. The Velkrin could have left her there. They could have called for human help and moved on. But Hana had looked at the little girl's face through the pod window and made a choice. They took Lily with them. They promised to bring her home to Earth, to her people, even though it meant going out of their way. Even though it would take extra time, now that choice might kill them all. The Karvoth were chasing them because the Velkrin ship had valuable crystals in its cargo hold. But Hana did not care about crystals anymore. She only cared about the child. She turned to Gina, who controlled where the ship went. Hana gave orders quickly. They needed to prepare an escape pod. They would send Lily down to Earth. The planet was close enough. The pod could make it through the air and land safely. Gina looked shocked. She said that would use a lot of power. The ship needed that power to run away from the Karvoth. Hana looked at her crew with hard eyes. She said they would save the child first. Nothing else mattered. The crew knew their captain. They knew she meant every word. They moved fast, doing their jobs without question. Minho carefully carried Lily to the escape pod. The little girl was still sleeping. They had given her medicine to keep her calm during the trip. She did not know that the people who saved her were about to die for her. Gina programmed the pod's computer. She aimed it at a big piece of land on Earth. The computer said it was called North America. There were many humans living there. They would find Lily quickly. The pod would send out a signal so people could locate it. Before they closed the pod door, Hana knelt down beside the sleeping child. She reached up and took off a necklace she was wearing. It was a blue crystal pendant that glowed with soft light. This pendant was very old and very important. It had been in Hana's family for many generations. It was one of her most precious things. Hana put the necklace around Lily's neck. She whispered words that the sleeping child could not hear. She said the pendant was for protection. She hoped that Lily's people would find her. She hoped they would understand that this child was precious and should be kept safe. She touched Lily's hair gently, like a mother touching her own child. Then Hana stood up and nodded to Minho. He sealed the pod door. The metal closed with a final sound. Hana returned to the bridge and gave the order. The pod shot out from the ship like a bright star. It fell through space toward the blue planet below. The crew watched on their screens as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Fire surrounded it as it fell, but the pod was strong. It would survive. Minho reported that the Karvoth ships were getting closer. They were sending messages, demanding that the Velkrin stop and surrender. Hana told him to ignore all messages from the pirates. She ordered Gina to set a course away from Earth. They would not let the Karvoth follow the pod. They would not lead these killers to the human child or to the human world. Gina's hands moved quickly over her controls. The ship turned and jumped into faster-than-light travel. But the ship was too damaged. The jump was rough and painful. Alarms rang throughout the vessel. More systems were failing. The Karvoth ships jumped after them. following like hungry wolves chasing wounded prey. Hana knew they would not escape. She knew this was the end, but she felt peace in her heart. They had saved one small human child. They had kept their promise. In the Velcrin culture, there was no greater honor than protecting the helpless. Children were sacred. All children, even those from other species. The crew understood too. No one complained. No one cried. They had made their choice and they were proud of it. Mino stood at his station with his head high. Gina piloted the dying ship with steady hands. They would lead the Karvoth far away from Earth. They would give Lily time to be found. Time to be safe. As the ship jumped deeper into unknown space, Hana recorded one last message. She spoke into the computer, knowing that the escape pod had a copy of everything she said. She told the humans about who they were and what they had done. She told them about Lily and how brave the little girl had been. She asked the humans to tell Lily that the stars would remember her. The Karvoth caught them 3 hours later, far from any planet or station. The Velcrin ship was torn apart by weapons fire. It broke into pieces that scattered into the void. The beautiful crystal hull that had reflected starlight was destroyed. Captain Hana and her crew died together, thinking of a small human child who would live because of them. On Earth, the escape pod landed in an empty field in Montana. The impact was soft, and the pod's signal began broadcasting immediately. Within hours, human soldiers found it. They opened the door carefully and found Lily sleeping peacefully inside, wearing a glowing blue pendant around her neck. The soldiers did not understand yet what had happened. They did not know that aliens had died to save this one child. They did not know that this moment would change humanity forever. They only knew that they had found a little girl who needed help. They took her gently from the pod and wrapped her in warm blankets. Lily opened her eyes and smiled at them, still half asleep. She was home. She was safe. And the Velcrin sacrifice was complete. Colonel Jiho Park stood in a special military room deep under a mountain. This room was where Earth's defenders watched the skies for danger. Large screens covered the walls, showing images from space. Everyone in the room looked confused and worried. Something strange had fallen from the sky 12 hours ago. It was not a meteor. It was not space junk. It was something new. Something alien. Teams had been sent to find where it landed. They found it in Montana, in a farmer's field. It was a pod, silver and smooth, made from materials that Earth did not have. Inside the pod was a little girl. She was human. Her name was Lily Chen and she was alive and healthy, but she was wearing something that definitely did not come from Earth. It was a crystal pendant that glowed with blue light. No human technology could make something like that. Dr. Yuna Kim called Jiho from the medical center. Her voice was shaking with excitement. She said Lily was fine, just sleeping from some kind of medicine. But there was something important in the pod's computer. They had found files, data, and a video message. The computer experts had worked all night to translate it from an alien language. Jiho needed to see it right away. Jiho went to the medical center quickly. In a secure room, they played the video on a large screen. The image was strange at first. All colors and shapes that human eyes were not used to seeing. Then the computer fixed it and Jiho could see clearly. It was the inside of a spaceship, not a human spaceship. Everything was made of crystal and light. Beautiful but alien. A woman appeared on the screen. At least Jiho thought it was a woman. She looked somewhat human but also very different. Her skin glowed softly. Her eyes were silver like mirrors. She wore clothes that seemed to be made of living light. Behind her, other beings moved around working at stations. They were all the same species. They all had that same gentle glow. The woman began to speak. The computer translated her words into English text at the bottom of the screen. She said her name was Captain Hana. Her people were called the Velcrin. They were travelers who explored the galaxy peacefully. They had found Lily Chen floating alone in space, the only survivor of a terrible accident. They had taken care of her. They had protected her. And now they were bringing her home to Earth, to her own people. But then Hana said something that made Jiho's blood run cold. She said that bad people were chasing them, pirates called the Karvoth. These pirates wanted to kill the Velcrin and steal their ship. But the Velcrin would not let the pirates follow them to Earth. They would not lead danger to the human world. They would lead the pirates away, even though it meant they would probably die. Hana looked directly at the camera. Her silver eyes seemed to look right through the screen, right at Jiho. She said that all life was precious. She said that children should be with their families. She said the Velcrin were making this choice freely with honor. She asked the humans to tell Lily that she had been brave. She asked them to tell Lily that the stars would remember her. The message ended. The screen went dark. The room was completely silent. Everyone was staring at the empty screen, trying to understand what they had just heard. These aliens had saved a human child. Not just saved her. They had died to protect her. They had sacrificed everything for one little girl they did not even know. Lieutenant Yunji Lee spoke quietly from her desk. She was looking at data from space sensors. She said that 6 hours ago, Earth satellites had detected something strange happening far out in the solar system. There had been bright flashes of light. Energy readings that looked like weapons being fired. A battle and then nothing, just silence and empty space. Jiho felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. He understood now. The Velcrin had led the pirates away from Earth. They had fought. And they had lost. They were dead. All of them were dead. They died so that one human child could live. Dr. Yuna said something in a whisper. She said the Velcrin had given everything to save someone they did not know. Someone who was not even their own species. What kind of people did that? What kind of people loved strangers that much? Jiho looked at the blue pendant that lay on the table. It was still glowing softly. He picked it up carefully. It was warm to the touch, and the light inside it seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. This was not just jewelry. This was something precious. A gift from a mother to a child. Except Hana was not Lily's mother. She was just someone who cared enough to die for her. Jiho had been a soldier for 20 years. He had seen battles and death. He had seen people sacrifice themselves for their countries, for their families, for their beliefs. But he had never seen anything like this. Complete strangers from across the galaxy choosing death to save one child. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. He picked up the phone and made a call. He needed to talk to the most important people on Earth. The Secretary General of the United Nations. The presidents and prime ministers. Everyone needed to know about this. Humanity had just learned that they were not alone in the universe. And they had learned it in the most powerful way possible. Within 2 days, the story spread everywhere. Every television channel showed the video. Every newspaper printed Hana's words. Every radio station talked about the Velcrin and their sacrifice. People cried in the streets. They gathered in churches and temples and mosques to pray for beings they had never met. Humans of every nation, every culture, every religion felt the same thing. Gratitude, respect, love, and anger. Anger at the Karvoth who had killed these peaceful people. Anger at a universe that let such evil exist. Anger that drove humans to make a decision. The United Nations called an emergency meeting. Representatives from every country on Earth gathered in New York. They talked for hours. Some said humans should be careful. Some said humans should prepare for threats from space. Some said humans should stay quiet and hidden. But most people said something different. They said that the Velcrin had shown humanity what real goodness looked like. They said that the Velcrin had died to protect one human child. They said that humanity should return that kindness, not to the ones who died because they were gone, but to their people, to any Velcrin who still lived. The vote was unanimous. Every single nation agreed. They passed a law called the Velcrin Protection Act. It was simple and powerful. It said that any Velcrin found anywhere in the galaxy was now under Earth's protection. Any threat to the Velcrin was a threat to humanity. Any attack on the Velcrin would be answered by all of Earth's forces. It was a promise written in law and sealed with grief. The Velcrin had protected one human child, so Earth swore to protect all Velcrin wherever they might be, forever. In the hospital, Lily Chen woke up. She did not remember much. She remembered the accident that killed her parents. She remembered feeling scared and alone. She remembered kind faces and gentle hands. She remembered feeling safe. But she did not know what those people had done for her. Not yet. She was only 7 years old, but when she was older, she would learn. She would learn that Captain Hana and her crew had loved her enough to die for her. She would learn that humanity had made a promise because of her, and she would spend her whole life trying to honor that sacrifice. But that story would come later. For now, she was just a little girl, safe at last, wearing a glowing blue pendant that would remind her forever that someone once thought she was worth saving. 20 years had passed since that day when a little girl fell from the sky. Lily Chen was now a woman, 27 years old and strong. She stood on the command bridge of a huge warship called the USS Vengeance. This was Earth's most powerful military vessel, built with one purpose: to defend those who could not defend themselves. Lily was the captain of this ship. She had joined Earth's Space Defense Force the day she turned 18. Everyone told her she was too young, too traumatized by what happened to her as a child. But Lily knew something they did not understand. She knew that somewhere in the galaxy, a species had died to save her. The Velcrin had given everything for one human child. She would spend her life trying to repay that debt. For 20 years, Earth had been searching. Humans built faster ships and better sensors. They explored every corner of space they could reach. They looked for any sign of the Velcrin, but all they found were empty stations and destroyed ships. The galaxy seemed to think the Velcrin were extinct, dead, gone forever. Lily never believed it. She wore Hana's pendant every day and it still glowed. Somehow deep in her heart she believed that meant something. That meant hope. That meant the Velcrin lived somewhere, hiding, waiting. Commander Taiyang Ro called out from his station. He was in charge of the ship's weapons and sensors. His voice was excited. He said they had detected a distress signal. It was faint, very far away, but the computer recognized the pattern. It was Velcrin. Real Velcrin, alive. Lily's heart stopped for a moment. After 20 years of searching, after thousands of empty leads, they had found them. She gave orders quickly. All crew members needed to prepare for action. The ship needed to turn around and go as fast as possible to the signal's location. Every second mattered. Someone was out there calling for help. The Vengeance was fast. Earth's engineers had built it using every advanced technology they could create. The ship could cross vast distances quickly, but it still took hours to reach the source of the distress call. Hours that felt like years to Lily. She paced the bridge, unable to sit still, while her crew worked efficiently around her. When they finally arrived, dropping out of faster-than-light travel, they saw chaos. A small ship made of crystal was surrounded by 3 larger vessels. The larger ships were dark and ugly, covered in weapons and armor. They were Karvoth raiders, the same kind of pirates who had killed Hana and her crew 20 years ago. The Velcrin ship was damaged. Its beautiful crystal hull had burn marks and cracks. Its shields were flickering and weak. The Karvoth were taking their time, shooting at it slowly, playing with it like cats playing with a mouse before killing it. They thought no one would come to help. They thought they could take as long as they wanted. They were wrong. Lily's voice was calm and cold as ice. She told Taiyang that weapons were free to fire. She told him to show the Karvoth what happened to people who hurt the Velcrin. She told him to show them what it meant to make humanity angry. The Vengeance was not like the old Velcrin ships. It was not peaceful or gentle. It was a weapon built by a species that remembered kindness and rewarded cruelty with destruction. Railguns fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Plasma cannons shot bolts of superheated energy. Missiles launched in waves, each one guided by advanced computers. The Karvoth raiders did not stand a chance. 2 of them exploded within the first minute, torn apart by weapons they had never seen before. The third tried to run, but human missiles were faster. They caught it and crippled its engines. The raider ship spun helplessly in space, systems failing, crew probably screaming inside. Lily ordered her communications officer to open a channel to the damaged Karvoth ship. A face appeared on the screen. It was ugly and reptilian, covered in scars. This was a Karvoth warrior, someone who had probably killed many innocent beings. Its eyes showed fear now. Fear of humans. Fear of what they would do. Lily looked at the creature without emotion. She told it to listen carefully. She told it to take a message back to all the Karvoth people. The message was simple. The Velcrin were under human protection now. Any Karvoth who attacked a Velcrin would be hunted down. Any Karvoth who hurt even one Velcrin would face the full military power of Earth. Humanity kept its promises. And humanity never forgot. She cut the communication without waiting for a response. She told Taiyang to destroy the Karvoth ship's weapons and engines completely, but leave its life support systems working. Let them float in space. Let them think about what they had done. Let them eventually limp home and tell everyone what happened here. Then Lily turned her attention to the Velcrin ship. Her hands were shaking slightly. After 20 years, she would finally meet them, finally talk to someone from the species that saved her life. She told her communications officer to send a message to the Velcrin. Use their language. Tell them they were safe now. The screen changed. A new face appeared, and Lily felt like her heart would stop. Silver eyes. Glowing skin, older now with scars and lines of age, but unmistakable. It was Hana, Captain Hana, the woman who had saved her. The woman who was supposed to be dead. Lily could not speak for a moment. She just stared. Hana looked confused. She asked how these humans knew her name. How did they know who she was? Her ship had no identification marks. They had been hiding for so long, trying to stay invisible. Lily reached up with trembling fingers and pulled out the pendant she wore. The blue crystal glowed brightly, responding to Hana's presence. Lily held it up to the camera so Hana could see it clearly. She watched as Hana's eyes went wide. She watched as understanding came to the Velcrin captain's face. Hana whispered one word. She said it in disbelief, in hope, in wonder. She said the child's name. Lily. The human child from 20 years ago. The little girl they had saved and sent home in an escape pod. Lily smiled, tears running down her face. She said yes. Yes, she was that child. She had grown up. She had learned what the Velcrin did for her. She had learned about the sacrifice. And she wanted Hana to know something important. The Velcrin were not alone anymore. Earth had been searching for them for 20 years. Earth had ships and weapons and soldiers all dedicated to one purpose, protecting the Velcrin. Hana did not seem to understand. She asked why. Why would humans care about the Velcrin? They were strangers. They were just travelers who did one good thing. Why would an entire planet spend 20 years searching for them? Lily's answer was simple. She said that the Velcrin had protected one human child, one little girl who had no one else. They had given everything to save her. So humanity decided to give everything to save them, all of them. Every Velcrin in the galaxy. That was what humans did. They remembered kindness. They repaid debts. They protected those who had protected them. Hana's voice broke. She said there were not many Velcrin left, maybe a few hundred scattered across different star systems, all hiding, all afraid. The Karvoth had hunted them for decades. Most of her people were dead. Lily made a promise. She said that humanity would find every single one. They would bring them to safety. They would build them a home. And they would make sure that no one ever hurt the Velcrin again. She asked Hana to come with her. Come to Earth, come home. The Velcrin had given Lily a home when she had none. Now humans would do the same for them. 5 years after finding Captain Hana, humans had built something amazing. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons deep under the ice, there was now a city. Not a human city. A Velcrin city. Tall crystal towers reached up toward the cavern ceiling. Gardens grew under special lights. Water flowed in streams and pools. It was beautiful and peaceful, just like the Velcrin themselves. Director Minseo Choi stood in the observation area, watching ships arrive. Each ship brought more Velcrin who had been found hiding across the galaxy. Earth search and rescue teams never stopped looking. They explored every system, checked every abandoned station, followed every faint signal, and slowly, one by one, they brought the Velcrin home. Suji Han, who managed the colony, came to stand beside Minseo. She held a tablet showing the current population numbers. There were now 847 Velcrin living safely on Europa. It seemed like such a small number. Once, the Velcrin had numbered in the millions. They had lived on dozens of worlds. They had been traders and explorers known throughout the galaxy. Now less than 1,000 remained, but they were alive, and they were rebuilding. The Velcrin and humans worked together beautifully. Velcrin knew how to grow crystals that could store energy or transmit data. Humans knew how to build powerful machines and engines. Together, they created new technology that neither species could have made alone. New medicines, new ships, new art that mixed human emotion with Velcrin light. It was not just work, though. Human children learned Velcrin songs. Velcrin artists made sculptures that showed human stories. People from both species became friends, became family. Minho, the engineer who had helped save Lily 25 years ago, now taught at the best engineering schools on Earth. Gina, who had piloted that dying ship, helped train human navigators. The species were becoming one people. Minseo was happy watching all this. Then her tablet buzzed with an urgent message. It was from Admiral Jiho Park, the same man who had found Lily's escape pod all those years ago. He was older now, but still in charge of Earth's defense. The message said there was a problem. A big problem. Minseo connected to a video call. Jiho's face appeared on her screen. He looked worried. He told her that something unexpected had happened. The Karvoth Confederacy had sent an official message to Earth. They wanted to talk. They wanted to negotiate peace. Minseo felt cold fear. She asked what the Karvoth wanted to negotiate. Why now after all these years of silence? Jiho explained that word had spread through the galaxy about what happened when the Karvoth attacked Velkrin ships. Human warships appeared and destroyed the attackers completely. The Karvoth were starting to realize that humans were serious about protecting the Velkrin. They wanted to avoid a war, but there was a problem. The Karvoth Confederacy was huge. They controlled hundreds of systems. They had thousands of ships. Earth was powerful, but it was only one planet. If there was a real war, it would be terrible. Many people would die, both human and Velkrin. The Karvoth were offering peace, but at what price? Jiho said that Earth's leaders wanted to have a meeting, a summit. They wanted to talk to the Karvoth and hear what they had to say. But more importantly, they wanted the Velkrin to be there. This decision affected the Velkrin most of all. They should have a voice. They should help decide what happened next. The summit was held on Luna, Earth's moon. Humans had built a great hall there for meetings between different groups. It was neutral ground, a place where everyone could feel safe. Representatives from every nation on Earth came. All 847 Velkrin came too. It was a small group compared to the hundreds of humans, but they were all there, standing together. The Karvoth sent one representative. It was huge, much bigger than any human or Velkrin. Its body was covered in thick scales that looked like armor. Its eyes were cold and calculating. This was a predator, a killer, standing in a room full of people it had hunted for decades. The Karvoth spoke in a deep, rumbling voice that the computers translated. It said that the Karvoth did not know the Velkrin were protected. It said they had not realized humans cared so much about another species. It said this was all a misunderstanding. The Karvoth offered to pay for their mistakes. They would give resources, technology, even territory. They would give humans anything they wanted. They just wanted peace. Secretary General Borisong, the leader of Earth's government, asked a simple question. What if humans refused? What if they did not accept the Karvoth's offer? What would happen then? The Karvoth's answer was honest. It said there would be war. The Confederacy was vast and powerful. Humans were strong, but they were just one planet. The Karvoth had allies and resources across the galaxy. A war would hurt everyone. Many would die. It would be terrible. The Karvoth was offering peace because peace was better than war. But if humans chose war, the Karvoth would fight. The room became very quiet. Everyone understood the threat. Accept the offer or fight a war that might destroy everything humans had built. It seemed like an impossible choice. Some humans looked afraid. Some looked angry. Some looked at the Velkrin, wondering what they should do. Then Captain Hana stood up. She was old now, her glow dimmer than it once was, but she stood straight and proud. She asked if she could speak. Bora immediately said yes. Everyone turned to listen to the Velkrin captain. Hana walked to the center of the room, standing between the humans and the Karvoth. She began to speak. She told everyone about what happened 25 years ago, how her ship was dying, how they could have saved themselves if they had just left one human child behind. But they did not leave her. They chose to save Lily, even though it cost them everything. They chose kindness over survival. She turned to face the Karvoth representative. She said the Karvoth called the Velkrin prey. They hunted her people across the galaxy. They killed millions. They destroyed worlds and cultures. They showed no mercy, no kindness, no honor. The Velkrin never fought back because fighting was not in their nature. They just ran and hid and died. Then Hana turned to face the humans. She said that these humans were different. When they learned what the Velkrin had done for one child, they made a promise. They promised to protect all Velkrin. They kept that promise. They built weapons. They trained soldiers. They spent years searching for survivors. They gave the Velkrin a home and hope and a future. They became the family that the Velkrin had lost. Hana's voice grew stronger. She said she did not want war. No Velkrin wanted war, but if the choice was between accepting peace from those who killed her people or standing with those who saved them, the choice was easy. The Velkrin would stand with humanity, now and forever. If the Karvoth wanted war, they would face not just Earth's weapons, but the combined strength of two species united by love and loyalty. Every Velcrin in the room began to glow brighter. It was their way of showing agreement, of showing emotion. The light filled the hall, beautiful and defiant. The humans stood up and started clapping. The sound was deafening. The Karvoth representative looked around at all these people, human and Velcrin together, and something changed in its cold eyes. The Karvoth bowed its head. It was a gesture of respect in their culture. It said that maybe the Confederacy had made a mistake. Maybe they had not understood what it meant to be human. The Karvoth would take this message back to their leaders. They would think carefully about what happened here today, because threatening humans meant threatening those humans loved. And humans, it seemed, loved very fiercely. The summit ended. The Karvoth left. No one knew if there would be peace or war. But everyone knew one thing for certain. Humans and Velcrin would face whatever came together, because that is what family does. 50 years had passed since that day when a little girl fell from the sky in an escape pod. Lily Chen was now an old woman, 77 years old with gray hair and wrinkles. But her eyes were still bright and strong. She sat in her garden on Europa, in the city that humans and Velcrin had built together. The garden was beautiful. Velcrin crystal flowers grew beside earth roses. Water flowed from human fountains into Velcrin pools. Everything here was a mix of two worlds, two cultures that had become one. Lily watched as her granddaughter played with a young Velcrin child. Both children were laughing, chasing lights that floated in the air like butterflies. The lights were a toy that Minho had invented years ago before he died. He had been 120 years old when he passed, ancient for a Velcrin. Captain Hana sat beside Lily on a bench. She was even older now, almost 150. Her glow was very dim and she moved slowly. But she was still alive, still here. The two old friends sat together in comfortable silence, watching the children play. Hana spoke quietly. She said the children were beautiful. Lily's granddaughter had the curiosity of humans and the gentleness that came from growing up with Velcrin. The Velcrin child had the wisdom of his people and the bravery he learned from human friends. They were the future, a future where no one remembered a time when humans and Velcrin were separate. Lily thanked Hana. She had said thank you 1,000,000 times over the years, but she said it again. Thank you for saving her life. Thank you for the sacrifice. Thank you for everything. Hana smiled and said that Lily should be thanked. Most species would have taken a rescued child and forgotten about those who saved her. They would have said thank you and moved on with their lives. But humans were different. Humans remembered. Humans kept promises. Humans had spent 50 years making sure the Velcrin survived and thrived. It was true. The Velcrin population had grown from 847 to more than 12,000. They lived on Europa, on Mars, on Luna, and on 3 new colony worlds that humans had helped them settle. Velcrin children were born every day now. The species that had almost gone extinct was alive and growing again, and it was not just about numbers. The Velcrin were part of human society now. There were mixed crews on every spaceship. Velcrin taught in human schools. Humans learned Velcrin arts and philosophy. When you asked someone what species they were, many young people had to think about it. They did not see themselves as human or Velcrin. They were just people. The Karvoth had chosen peace after the summit on Luna. They had realized that attacking the Velcrin meant war with humanity, and humanity was not afraid to fight. More than that, they had seen something that scared them. They had seen two species united not by force or law, but by love. That kind of unity was powerful. It was dangerous. It could not be broken by threats or weapons. The Karvoth Confederacy had signed a treaty with Earth. They agreed to leave the Velcrin alone forever. They agreed to pay compensation for the lives they had taken. They agreed to respect human territory and allies. In return, humans agreed not to hunt them down and destroy them. It was not friendship, but it was peace. And peace was enough. Other alien species had heard the story of what happened. They heard how the Velcrin saved one human child. They heard how humanity spent 50 years protecting the Velcrin in return. Word spread across the galaxy. Humans were fierce warriors when their friends were threatened. But they were also loyal and honorable. They kept their promises. New species started coming to Earth, not as conquerors or traitors, but as friends looking for allies. They signed protection agreements similar to the Velcrin Protection Act. They built embassies and colonies. They joined the growing alliance of species that stood together. Earth was becoming a center of galactic cooperation, all because of a promise made 50 years ago. Lily asked Hana if she remembered the message she had sent with the escape pod. The message from 50 years ago when Hana thought she was going to die. Did she remember what she had said? Hana closed her silver eyes and recited the words from memory. She had told the humans to tell Lily that she was brave. She had told them that the stars would remember. She had not known then what those words would mean. She had not known that her small act of kindness would change the galaxy. Lily said that Hana had been right. The stars did remember. Every ship in the human fleet carried a symbol on its hull, a blue crystal pendant surrounded by stars. It was a reminder, a promise, a symbol of what happened when two species chose love instead of fear. Hana reached over and took Lily's hand. Human skin and Velcrin crystal wrinkled with age holding each other. Two old women who had lived incredible lives, who had seen their peoples unite, who had built something beautiful from tragedy. Lily said they were family now, not because of blood or species, but because of choice. The Velcrin had chosen to save one human child. Humans had chosen to save all Velcrin, and now 50 years later those choices had created something wonderful. A future where children of both species played together, learned together, and grew up knowing that kindness was stronger than cruelty. In the sky above Europa, visible through the transparent dome, ships moved through space, exploration vessels discovering new worlds, science ships studying the universe, defense cruisers protecting the innocent. All of them had mixed crews. All of them carried the symbol of the pendant and stars. On one of those ships, a young human captain named Mireille worked alongside her Velcrin first officer. They did not know Lily or Hana personally. They had only learned about them in history classes. But they understood what those two old women represented. They represented the best of what people could be, regardless of species. Mireille looked at the blue pendant symbol on her ship's display and made a quiet promise. She would honor what Lily and Hana had built. She would protect those who needed protection. She would show the same kindness that started everything, because that was what it meant to be part of the Human Velcrin Alliance. That was the legacy that had been given to her generation. Back in the garden on Europa, the sun was setting. Not a real sun, but lights that humans had installed to give the underground city a sense of day and night. The children had tired themselves out and were now sitting quietly. The human girl teaching the Velcrin boy a song from Earth. The Velcrin boy was teaching her how to make small crystals glow with her touch. Lily and Hana watched them and smiled. They knew they did not have much time left. They were old and age came for everyone eventually. But they were not afraid. They had lived full lives. They had seen miracles. They had been part of something bigger than themselves. More importantly, they had built something that would last long after they were gone. A friendship between species. A promise that would be kept forever. A reminder that in a cold and dangerous universe there was still kindness, still honor, still love. The Velcrin had protected one human child. So Earth swore to protect their entire species. And 50 years later, both species stood together, stronger than ever, proving that some promises are worth keeping forever.